We welcome you to SUPERCOMM and also to the ICT Green Boot Camp. I'm your host, Tally Walsh. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Business Development for TIA, along with Florence Soumaret, TIA's Marketing Director. And you are in for a treat today. In 3 short sessions, you'll be drilled on some of the important concepts that will help your company navigate an increasingly complex environment. We're actually looking at this from a variety of different angles today around energy efficiency and the environment, and you'll find that although the sessions are quite diverse, they complement one another quite well, and you'll walk out of here with a great perspective on the topic. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Infineon Technologies Wireline Communications Division, which has announced that it will soon become Lantic. Infineon is kindly hosting the networking reception right outside of this room, immediately following the 3rd panel. And Nokia Siemens Networks, which is awarding 3 lucky companies $1,000 each towards their participation in a virtual summit in February of 2010. And you'll find details about this great opportunity in your Green Boot Camp brochure, which you have in your bag. So please make sure to fill out your evaluation forms for each session in order to qualify for this opportunity. Now, without further ado, let me introduce to you the moderator of our first panel on green design and market access, Susan Schramm, Head of Marketing for North America at Nokia Siemens Networks, and also a member of the TIA Board of Directors. Please help me welcome Susan Schramm.
Well, was it random that you wore green today? Because I noticed the whole TIA team showed up here in green, which is clearly was a politically correct statement and as well as a motivational one. Welcome, and I would tell you that we are at a point where every one of us who comes to this conversation has a perspective. And my guarantee is that by the time you'll leave, your perspective will at least have broadened, if not changed, because the discussions that we're going to be having has a lot to do with it. What I want to do is first of all, introduce you to our panel, and then give you some context in terms of what we're going to, how we're going to have this discussion. Before we introduce them, I want you all to introduce yourself, and let me explain how. To the extent that you walked in here today, you come from some angle, you come from some perspective about the subject of environment and green. And we'd like to know a little bit about your backgrounds that brought you here. So I'm going to ask by show of hands some different categories, because as we were planning this conversation, we realized that to whether you are going to ask different categories. Do you make products? Are you involved in legislation of products? Are you involved in standardization of products relative to environment? Or do you just feel a strong sense of you're here with none of those categories, but you have a strong sense of need to affect the environment. So the first was, do you make products that are affected by environmental impact? Any of you involved in that? Okay. Okay. Are any of you involved in the legislation, the regulatory aspect? Okay. And how about involved in standards? Okay. And then if you didn't answer any of those, I'm going to maybe ask you, why are you here because you have a cause that you're trying to accelerate in relative to environment? Okay. So I think what you'll find as a result of this discussion is that everybody comes to the discussion environment with different perspectives, and we have to, if we're going to make an impact, we all have to figure out how to get on one page in terms of outcome. What is the outcome we're trying to get to so that we can align? Because everybody will have different perspectives. So the people here on this table, in fact, bring quite a few. And we have here, as you might have seen, we have Paul Hagen, a principal at Beveridge & Diamond, which practices in the area of U.S. and international environmental law. It's Paul, the just-in-time speaker. And we've got Gary Marchesov, who's an environmental specialist from Molex Corporation. Stan Sallet, who's the president of the Electronic Component Certification Board and is a knowledge expert in business and quality process. And then a strategic consultant. We have Andrew Sweatman, who comes across the pond from WSP Environmental, who's coming with a sense of strategic impact in terms of companies who are dealing with the issue. And my role for Nokia Siemens Networks has a lot to do with furthering the dialogue and ensuring that as we bring products to market that we're not only helping our customers, helping our own company execute in a way that positively impacts the environment, but helping our customers change the world in the same way. What we did prior to this was ask a survey about perspectives about green. And I don't know if any of you were actually ones, did you ever see a survey come at you? Well, we surveyed people from the show and asked them some key questions relative to green prior to walking in terms of what their perspectives were. And you'll see that 73% of respondents said that executive management, the big guys, are responsible for green compliance. Right? It's somewhere up there, the executive management is responsible. However, most respondents seem unclear as to how green affects their company. It's just like a good thing to do that the bosses should make sure is done, but what to do specifically and how they personally are involved is not clear. 94% of the respondents say that green means reduced energy use. So Energy Star and the impact of energy and power consumption is a very clear aspect of what green means to many. And between 30 to 40% of respondents sell RoHS or WEEE compliant products. So of those of you in the room or the population here at the show, for instance, a lot of people are affected by legislation that exists already relative to compliance. 90% are focused on this e-waste regulation. And as consumers, most respondents believe that they could tell if a product is green. They can tell a product is green because of its brand. The Energy Star predominantly is understood as green. And then lower in the thing is WEEE and RoHS. Obviously, where you are as a consumer, because obviously Energy Star is a consumer brand that people recognize, but the other aspects of manufacturing process, for instance, of WEEE and RoHS, is less understood, but understood to be helpful. So what's interesting about this, I don't know what you drew from this, I drew that we've got a lot of clarity needed. We need to further this discussion to get toward more pragmatic steps. Because at some point in time, everybody knows there's something to do, and if everybody starts doing them, it's going to be very hard to execute anything. Like if you get a bunch of kids in the room and just say, go build a house, how does everybody know what to do? So what we're going to be doing in the conversations today is try to help create some context relative to the subject of how would you design in a world of green? What are the implications that might be had? And our point of view is at least let's start with some agreed to problems, and let's get to a few early wins and get people on the same page. And that's what I'm looking forward to hearing. So I think in terms of the next step is the slides next? Are going to go through? Oh, I think I'll make my little commercial right now since it came up. We are going to continue to have this discussion today and in the future. In Washington in November, we're bringing together legislators, NGOs, folks from industry, as well as standards to have a discussion about, again, how to make the impact an economic one and not just a good thing to do. So this conversation that we start today is going to keep on going. We would encourage you to keep being participating part of it. And part of this also will be this virtual, very green sustainability summit, which will be in February. And this is a fascinating approach to a global discussion on sustainability. I was just talking to the organizers of it. It's going to be all done through telepresence, a very high-tech approach. And as part of that, TIA is sponsoring a hall, essentially a virtual hall, much like we're having here, where you can go in and have different conversations with people in a telepresence interactive environment. Fascinating. We are very enthusiastic about this because of the dialogue that it can further and do it virtually and tap more people than can necessarily come to a city. And we would really encourage those of you who want to have your company participate, be part of what TIA is doing. We think that they're doing something very helpful, especially if you're a company that thinks it's a good thing to do but hasn't necessarily anteed up the funds to do something like this. So we like to help you out. Okay? So now, go ahead and start this.